Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the August 24th, 2015 meeting of the Revere City Council Zoning Subcommittee. Today we have Councilors Powers, Guanasso, Haas, and Zambuto with us. We have several items on the agenda. The first is item C-15-02, which is a petition from Oxford Airport Technical Services, 47 Meacham Ave, Elmont, New York, seeking permission from the Revere City Council to convert one non-conforming use, a contractor storage yard, to another non-conforming use, maintenance and repair facility at 885 North Shore Road. I believe the clerk today or yesterday received a communication from the applicant requesting to withdraw the petition. I'm going to seek a recommendation from this subcommittee that we report to the full City Council our approval of the withdrawal.
On the request of the Mr. Chairman,
please, Councilor.
At the request of the attorney representing Oxford Airport Technical Services, I agree it should be withdrawn. If that's their wishes, I see nothing wrong with withdrawing it.
All right, I
make a motion to withdraw.
Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Powers, Council President
That
Powers.
happens to be my ward, Ward 5, North Shore Road, okay? And since they first filed the application, they've been working down there and are still working as we speak. So if in fact they are going to withdraw that application, I'd like the building department to go down and determine whether or not they're in violation of any zoning down there.
I think that's an entirely appropriate position. I did have a call into Attorney Cipolletta, who actually returned my call just prior to the meeting. I was not able to have a conversation with him yet, but I'm going to suggest that you and I both converse with him, assuming, well, first of all, if they're withdrawing, whether or not it ends up being allowed by the full City Council, which I would expect it would be. But the ancillary issue, obviously, is that they have to cease and desist. So it seems to me that that is the appropriate situation, and I would hope that they would do so.
No question about it. No question about it.
Michael, would you have something? Could you name and address? We do everything the right way around here.
Wow.
Mike Tucker, 9 Ellerton Street, Revere, Mass.
Mr. Tucker.
It appears that they're moving stuff out today.
Really?
That's fine. That's fine.
Well, I mean, I think probably it would be reasonable to grant them a little bit of leeway. I don't know. I assume the facility, to my knowledge, and after discussions with you and some other people, it didn't seem there was the high degree of opposition to this. So I have to assume that the site is unsuitable, or they found the site unsuitable at this point, which is possible. I mean, it is a small site, and it seemed to me that from the first time we started looking at it, as I said, geez, it seems to me like they have a lot of equipment potential to be working on such a small site. So maybe they found that to be the facts. I don't know.
I think that is the case, because I was looking to put hours of operation restrictions on it, and noise restrictions, and also some fencing and some landscaping. And apparently they're not looking to do that, so
well, that could be the reason as well. I don't know.
That's
but
fine.
Nonetheless, I think they're looking to withdraw, and it's a practice, I think, City Council is that anybody wants to withdraw, we allow them to do it. I would say that's, unless there's something completely onerous about the operation, which I don't think we found as we were going forward from the public hearing, it seems to me that that would be the way to go. But I agree with you, Councilor Powers, that certainly the city engineer, the city inspectional services ought to be notified and advise that if they are not ceasing operations, they should be ordered to do so.
Perfect.
So we'll report this out to the City Council as a withdrawal request, and with the zoning subcommittee's determination that such a request should be allowed. The second item on the agenda is C-15-03. This is a petition from Angelica Cardona-Ramirez, 23 Harrington Street, Revere, seeking permission from the Revere City Council to convert one non-conforming use, which was a medical use, to another non-conforming use, which is a coffee shop, on PT lots 74 and 76 at Centennial Avenue at 1 to 4 Orr Square. Similar to the last item, we've received the communication today that they would like to withdraw the 4 or square, 1 to 4 or square application. And once again, it seems to me that under the circumstances, that the withdrawal ought to be allowed. So I'd be seeking a recommendation from our subcommittee that this would be reported to the full city council with the recommendation that the withdrawal be permitted.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you,
Motion
Councilor.
to,
I'm sorry, Councilor
Motion to
Ganassa?
withdraw.
Thank you. So that'll be reported out as was the prior item as a withdrawal with the approval of the zoning subcommittee. The third item on the agenda tonight is C-15-04, 1141 Revere Beach Pkwy Realty LLC of North Ocean Boulevard, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, seeking permission from the Revere City Council to operate a fast food takeout drive-in restaurant and a car wash for the use of the replacing a existing non-conforming rooftop sign. I'm sorry, for the use of an existing non-conforming rooftop sign on lots 1 and 4 at 1141 Revere Beach Pkwy. If anybody would like to speak on that, sir, your name, your address.
And I have with me the designated representative for the applicant, Joseph Coppola, 337 Chapters, Pond Road, North Andover. We have been before the subcommittee on a number of occasions. I'm just here to make myself and Mr. Coppola available in case the members have any additional questions.
Council, I assume that there is no change to the original proposal at this point?
There is not.
And I also assume, maybe I shouldn't assume, but I would like to think that you are aware of the Site Plan Review Committee's recommendations, which will likely be attached to any permit that we would be issuing under this.
We are and have no issue with those.
I will briefly, for the edification of the public, go through that. Site Plan Review has recommended a street and sidewalk bond placed on file with the DPW to secure performance for the installation of utilities, construction of concrete sidewalks and granite curbing, construction of driveways, construction of retaining walls, if applicable, and landscaping with respect to the operation of a fast food takeout drive-in restaurant and car wash at 1141 Revere Beach Parkway. Number 2, the final plans must be reviewed and approved by the fire department. Number 3, the parking lot shall be paved and striped with clear pavement markings for traffic flow. 4, the proponent shall secure a curb cut permit and comply with access and egress design standards from Mass DOT and DCR for safe access and egress into Revere Beach Parkway. Sewer connection and water connection permit must be obtained from the DPW and engineering department for all new services into the building. Stormwater management and drainage plans shall be submitted to and approved by the Site Plan Review Committee. All walkways within the site shall be concrete, and all curbing shall be either precast concrete or granite. A landscaping plan shall be approved by the Site Plan Review Committee, which shall include landscape buffer and screening areas between abutting residential properties and the site, as well as interior landscaped islands and landscaping along the full frontage of the site. 9, all drive-through aisles and stacking lanes shall not conflict with proposed parking spaces and the flow of interior traffic. 10, the exterior facade of the building shall be approved by the Site Plan Review Committee. And 11, a final as-built plan and landscaping plan must be filed with the city engineer and building inspector prior to the issuance of an occupancy permit. So you're all aware of that. The other issue that we discussed was hours of operation. And I would like, as the ward councilor, to suggest that we, at least at this point, agree on some hours of operation, certainly at least for the car wash, because it seems to me that that is likely to be the more obtrusive of the 2 uses that's planned in the on the lots right now.
Mr. Coppola has indicated that he is amenable to.
And what are your suggestions along those regards?
5 to 11.
5 a.m. to 11? It seems to me that 5's a little early for a car wash. Maybe 6. Does that sound okay? And would that be for both operations or just the car wash? Good, please. Name and address, please.
Joe Capola, 337 Sharpness Pond Road, North Andover. The way we got to, or the way I suggested 5 to 11 is because typically if we have a chain coffee operation, that's what they like to operate at, so that I kind of matched what I would do to what they would do.
Okay, so what I'm interested in, I agree with you. I think a coffee operation makes sense 5 o'clock to
And
11.
the wash doesn't
It's
have
the
to
car
be
wash that I'm concerned about because it's bound to be a little noisier, a little
6 to
earlier.
11 is fine.
All right, so let's say 5 to 11, and I'll add that as a condition of the special permit. 5 to 11 for the coffee shop and 6 to 11 for the car wash. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
You can work with that?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Any other questions from any of the subcommittee members or city councilors? I'm going to entertain a recommendation to approve this special permit for the city council. If someone would like to make a motion. Councilor Ganasso. I'm asking to approve, yeah. I'm suggesting it. All right. So we'll report this out favorably to the full city council at the 6 o'clock meeting tonight. And again, the site plan review committee recommendations will be incorporated as well as those operating hours that we discussed just moments ago. So I think we'll be all set. You fellas can stick around if you like. I don't think there'll be any issues that'll come up given the fact that I'm the ward councilor, but if you're concerned that there might be, you might want to stick around. Otherwise, it will be presented to the full city council for a vote this evening, okay?
Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is item C-15-06. This is a petition from Antonio Dello Iacono, 20 Geneva Street, Revere, for a special permit to construct a 2.5-story duplex townhouse on Lot A, Broadsound Avenue in Revere. Would anybody like to speak on this matter? I don't see Mr. Dello Iacono here this evening. I know that he's had extensive discussions with the ward councilor. And it's my understanding that they have come to an agreement that the side street on which this is to be located will be paved at the completion of construction as the only condition. I don't think we have any site plan review conditions, do we? No, I didn't think so. My predilection would be to send this to the full city council. Presumably, Councilor McKenna will be there. If she has any reservations about this, the committee would be happy to take it back into subcommittee for further consideration if that becomes necessary. So I would entertain a motion from the subcommittee to report this out favorably pending Councilor McKenna's comments. Councilor Ganasso, thank you for that. Councilor Ganasso has moved to report this out favorably, and we'll do so with the understanding that Councilor McKenna may have some reservations, and if she does, she can express them. We'd be happy to take it back into subcommittee at that point.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
this is reminiscent of Saturday morning at the bocce court when your team used 5 balls and I only had 4.
Councilor Ganasso, we won fair and square.
All right, thank you, Mr.
It was a
Chairman.
major payback issue.
Just a point of information.
I wasn't going to start bragging about this, but you may make me do that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Ganasso. Lastly, on the agenda is a City Revere request for amendments to the zoning map located at American Legion Highway, and the change of the zoning ordinance from its current zoning to highway business. Would anybody like to speak on that at this point?
Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Ganasso.
Mr. Chairman, not only as a member of the zoning board, but zoning subcommittee, I also represent that area. And it's my wishes from the onset when we had the original public hearing that I have a neighborhood meeting prior to any proposal going forward on this particular location. And I'm asking the subcommittee to allow me to do that. Give me a couple of weeks to put people together. I'm a firm believer, Mr. Chairman, that the people's business should not be conducted in summer months when many people are on vacation. And this is not something that Arthur Guanasso thought of this particular current year. This has been since day one, and it's been the practice of this city council that we not hold public hearings of such a magnitude that affects so many people in one particular area. So I'm asking that, very simply, that we put this off until people are back from vacation. In a couple of weeks, we'll get together. The city can make its proposal and its presentation, whoever they want to send down to our meeting. I will find and locate a particular location where we can meet, where it's available to everybody in the area, and we go forward, and that's how I would like to proceed in this particular matter. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Ganasso. I am in complete and utter agreement with you on that issue. This is a rather grave issue before us, before the full city council. Anytime we decide to change ordinances, particularly zoning ordinances, we need to have the full advantage of the input of the citizens. And the summertime, unfortunately, doesn't lend itself to doing that. I don't see that there is any great rush to do something like this. And it seems to me that a further, to hold this in committee further would make sense, pending some form of further input from the local community that I'm sure you'll be very happy to organize. The only question I have for the clerk is...
Mr. Chairman.
Hold on one second. I only have one question from the clerk. Do we have any time constraints on holding this in the subcommittee?
There's 90 days from the date of the public hearing, which was July 27th.
So we're well within the time period at this point. You're not even 30 days into it at this point.
That's correct.
Okay, just to clarify that. Councilor Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I absolutely agree with the council that he should have a public a meeting of his constituents over there. And but before we go to that point, I have an amendment I'd like to put on the table so that we know when we do have that neighborhood meeting what we're really talking about. So my amendment is as follows. Section 1 to read 18-324 324H and 1I-1, I believe. 18-324H and 1-2, 18-324K-1, 18-324K-2, 18-324K-3, 18-324K-4, 18-324K-5A, 18-324K-8, 18-324K-9, and 18-324K-10. Delete 18-325-10, 18-325-9, 18-325-8, 18-325-7, 18-325-3, and 18-325-4, and also 18-325-5 and 18-325-6. So in essence, we're going to delete those parcels I mentioned and delete Section 2 completely. And so this will, in essence, make the north side highway business and leave the south side intact. So that's my amendment to the zoning ordinance.
Thank you, Council. I think it's entirely, one second, I think it's entirely appropriate that you make that request at this point. And I also would ask that you put it in writing for the edification of both the clerk and for Councilor Ganasso, so that when he presents it to his constituents, he has the opportunity to explain both potential amendments.
And it's obviously my constituents also. I'll be there to articulate exactly what I'm trying to do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well done, Counselor. Counselor Hess.
Just so everyone's edification, what are you actually talking about? 18, 1, 2, 3, what are we referring to?
Those are parcels that, that would have been in the total package. Those are the south side parcels that I deleted from the original proposal. So only the north side parcels would be in this change for highway business. The south side would be left alone completely.
Did Frank Stringy concur with this?
Yes, he did. And
Why wasn't it in the original?
well, because it was a last-minute proposal that I put forward.
Everything's last minute here.
No.
It's amazing.
Well, we've got plenty of time, Counselor. We've
All
got
right.
plenty of time. We're going to have a public, a meeting with the neighbors, and there's a lot of time to get this on the table. I just
Okay.
want it on there. I'm bringing it up tonight so that before we have that meeting, everybody knows what's going on. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Counselor Ganasso.
I'm kind of removed and taken back by the whole situation based on the fact that I represent the area. I find it almost embarrassing somewhat that he reaches out to another member of the city council, knowing that I represent that area, knowing that, and I bear in mind, everyone in the city council has a right for a vote on this, but I think protocol leads itself to that most of the information when it comes to awarding of these types of zoning in a particular area, they usually have a conversation with the ward council as a matter of protocol. I am not saying I'm against any of this, but I'm taken back somewhat that Frank Stringy took it upon himself that he lent his thoughts to somebody else other than myself.
Point of information. Point of information.
My point is that I
Let him
waited
finish,
through.
please.
Let me have a point of information.
I will if you let him finish.
Council, I waded through all that litany of what you were saying, a 1-2 and 1 you know, bearing in mind, we came here with one thing in thought process was that we were going to put this on the table and that we were going to review it with the neighbors. And maybe at that point, Mr. Stringy and his staff or a member of his staff could come forward and present the facts at that subcommittee meeting so everybody walks out knowing this is what we're doing firsthand. And it's not that we're against, I'm not against any of what you said. I'm just saying the manner in which it took place. I don't know, in fact, what you're saying and where these parcels are, so it puts everybody at odds when I don't have the documentation in front of me to intelligently say, well, I agree with that, but I can't even entertain something like you just proposed because I don't have the data in front of me. And so, Mr. Chairman, I ask that that be stricken and that that proposal be sent up by the person who proposed it, meaning the city of Revere. We're supposed to sit here in judgment and act on do we agree with this? We're not supposed to present it as an issue. And I'm just, you know, and again, I'm not saying I disagree with anything he said, but I don't know what he was speaking of. And neither does any of the members that are sitting right here. We're saying, and you're the chairman, and I'm sure you're not.
I know exactly what he's talking about. If you let me respond to that before I turn it over to Councilor Zambuto. First of all, the idea is to get this right, get something that makes sense, and a lot of different people have a lot of different opinions about what actually ultimately makes sense. Now, I think Frank Stringy may have agreed that it would be appropriate to do this. I don't think he thinks that it's the best and most appropriate thing to do. Nonetheless, we're interested in making progress with our zoning, and in that regard, we need to do it once, really, and not, you know, twice. I think an alternate proposal may or may not make sense ultimately, but in the meantime, I think it has to be included in the discussion. So clearly, that the difference between these two proposals is to make the zoning on both sides of the highway for that section, highway business, or make it the north side only at this point and leave the zoning as it exists on the south side presently. I'm not saying that in my opinion, it makes the most sense, but sometimes a compromise position has to be had, and I think it's certainly part of the discussion. So we will discuss that going forward at the next subcommittee meeting. Hopefully, it'll be after your meeting.
Mr. Chairman, all due respect, I'm in full agreement that compromise is the value of dealing with public opinion. But giving a disadvantage of not having the information and the data in front of me puts me at a severe disadvantage.
Well, it'd be a lot worse.
All I merely say is that I need to have that information available to me, of which I have it at home. I don't have it in front of me. It was my intention that this was going to be tabled. And,
It has been tabled. It is tabled.
But with an amendment.
The amendment is tabled as well. Everything's on that remains on the table in this subcommittee. I would say that you'd be at much worse disadvantage if this were to have been brought up after you've had your meeting with your constituents. I think in order to have this fully and adequately vetted by everybody, everything has to be in front of everybody at the same time. Otherwise, you know, we're going to be going back and having another meeting. So I think it's entirely appropriate to continue to leave this on the table, which we will in the subcommittee, give you an opportunity to vet the proposal with both proposals, with the constituents and the neighbors in there, and I think that's entirely appropriate.
And I have my point of information now, Mr. Chairman.
Hold on one second. Yes, you may. Go ahead.
Thank you. To my dear friend, the Ward 3 councilor, this was not a formal thing from Frank Stringy. I had an off-the-record conversation with him that I was going to amend this proposal. He did not put this forward. He, off the record, told me he could live with that. It wasn't their proposal. This is me, and you. So they didn't send me here to do this. In other words, this wasn't part of the city's proposal. This is Tony Zambuto's proposal. I don't want you to think that Frank Stringy tried to do a backdoor deal here or anything. I just mentioned to him that I was going to put forward an alternate proposal. This is not part of the administration's proposal. So nobody blindsided you, and Frank Stringy did not leave you in the dark. This is me. And I apologize. I left you in the dark, not him, because this was not a proposal yet. Now there'll be talk about it because it's on the table. But please, don't blame the city planner. It wasn't his fault. Okay. This is all on me.
No problem.
Okay. So I just want you to understand that. And I'm fully supportive of your public meeting with the constituents. I will be there and give my side of the story. But this wasn't from the administration or from Frank Stringy. I did have a private conversation with him that I told him I was going to make this amendment. But that's all. So it wasn't part of the formal package. Just wanted you to understand that.
Well, the thing, just to be very perfectly honest with you,
yeah,
it was kind of lengthy, and it's kind of pinpointed very clearly. And I've been here for several years, and I've never seen any amendment come in with so many adjustments in on particular parcels and stuff. So it led me to believe that, boy, this is pretty in-depth, and so...
That's on me. That's me doing my homework.
The obvious is here.
That's
okay.
me doing my homework.
If that's what you tell me, that's what I believe.
You know I tell the truth all the time, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry for...
You're welcome, gentlemen. Mr. Russo, state your name and address, please.
Jamie Russo, 72 Squire Road in Revere. I had more of a question, Mr. Chairman, than a statement. I was wondering, what's the official protocol for the notification and the meeting of the abutters and the constituents?
Well, first of all, this appears to be an informal meeting. I would anticipate, given the fact that Councilor Ganasso is very anxious to hear or I should say eager to hear the comments of his constituents, that he would be notifying him. If you'd like to be on the list, I'm sure he would certainly include you. I don't doubt that, but I would ask that he would do that, and I don't doubt that he would include you. Obviously, it's in Councilor Ganasso's best interest to get as many people who are affected by this as possible, including yourself.
Sure. No, I didn't know if it was a publication in the newspaper, if it was notification from the city clerk. Is it?
The chair, it's generally a word of mouth type of thing. I will notify the city clerk when I'm having a meeting on this. You can rest assured it's going to be after Labor Day. I firmly believe in that.
The city clerk then notify the constituents and abutters?
No, I do. This is not a subcommittee meeting. This is an informal neighborhood meeting, meaning that I organize it. I ask people, the residents, to come.
Who do you ask? Well, I'm a neighbor. How would I get asked? This is a meeting I don't want to miss, Counselor.
We'll ask you to come.
You'll call me?
I won't call you, but we'll send some communication to you. I don't call anybody. We usually send someone and knock it on doors and stuff like that. We'll get the word around. What I usually do, you have a gentleman named Amin Caruso over there in that area. I normally would ask him to tell people over there if they'd like. I have a person on this side, excuse me, this thing is,
Step on it.
and so
Well, I'm just saying,
I don't do it in any formal way.
All right, look, I'm not going to end this conversation. He's going to get in touch with you
He
and
said
let
that
you
he's not
know
going to
about
get
this
in touch with
meeting.
You want a
Okay.
registered letter?
I'm going to ask him to get in touch with me in case he doesn't get in touch with
Fair
you
enough.
so that I can get in touch with you.
Fair enough.
All right, the other thing I want to tell you is this. This is not the last meeting before this subcommittee. In case you have something else to say, this will be heard at the next subcommittee meeting after he has that meeting. So be aware, that certainly will be published in our city council agenda, so you will have advance notice of that.
My
All
concern
right?
was only the
I get
notification
it.
for the neighborhood meeting.
I get
And
it.
I have your word that I will be notified.
He notifies me, I notify you, okay? That's how we'll do it. How's that?
Fair enough.
Good enough. So I think we've agreed to hold this in the subcommittee for pending Council Ganasso's phone stopping ringing. And we'll report that out to the full city council. I believe that's the last matter on our agenda this evening, Madam Clerk. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
We will adjourn until, well, we don't have another date, but we have other matters coming up before the full city council for public hearing tonight. So I would imagine those things will be forwarded at sometime in mid-September or so, and hopefully we'll be able to address this issue as well sometime in mid-September. So that's it for the zoning subcommittee meeting. We are adjourned.